We're all taught this one simple rule: just work hard and you'll succeed. But what if that's not just wrong? What if it's actually a trap designed to hold you back? Today, we're going to dig into this really powerful manifesto that argues the whole idea of hard work is built to limit your potential. Let's get into it.
Right out of the gate, the manifesto hits you with a statement that's just designed to make you stop and think. Now, it's not saying that effort is useless or pointless. It's asking a much more dangerous question. Who is really benefiting from all your hard work? Let's unpack that. Okay, so let's jump into our first section, the brutal reality. And this is where we're going to look at why that whole promise of more effort equals more success is, well, it's just built on some really flawed math.
And this quote, man, it just forces you to face this really uncomfortable truth that, let's be honest, we see all the time. I mean, the people putting in the most grueling, backbreaking hours, the manual laborers, the service workers, they're almost never the wealthiest people, right? It just perfectly highlights this huge disconnect between pure, raw effort and actual financial reward.
And this number, this is the real kicker, 24. It's the one thing that levels the playing field for everyone, but it's also the absolute unbreakable ceiling on your personal effort. Doesn't matter who you are, you can't make more time. And that means your personal output, well, by definition, it's got a hard limit.
So here's the crucial takeaway from all this. See, when your income is directly tied to the hours you work, your potential for growth just smacks right into a brick wall. Yeah, sure, you could work 10% harder and maybe get a 10% raise, but you can never work 1,000% harder. It's just not possible. The relationship is totally linear, and that, right there, is the trap. The manifesto uses this metaphor, and it's a really powerful one. You're burning all this energy, you're getting more and more exhausted, but where you are, your fundamental situation, it's not changing one bit. You're stuck in this loop of endless effort with zero real progress.
Okay, so all of that leads us right into section 2, which is really the core idea of this whole manifesto: linear versus exponential. We're about to break down two completely different ways of thinking about earning money.
First, let's talk about the linear path. Now, this is the one that most of us are taught from day one, and honestly, it's the one most of us are still on. It's your basic job model, right? You trade an hour of your life for a certain amount of cash. It's simple, it's predictable, but like we just talked about, it's fundamentally capped.
Okay, now let's flip that on its head and look at the exponential path. This isn't about trading your time at all. Nope, this is about building systems that work for you. We're talking about things like a business, a piece of software, maybe an investment. Things that create value even when you're not physically there working on them. That is how you get real scale.
And this chart, wow, it just lays out the choice so clearly. On the linear path, you get paid for the hour. On the exponential path, you get paid for the outcome. One path means you're capped, the other means you're free. But here's the real game changer, the most critical difference of all. A linear income only grows while you are working. An exponential system, that can grow while you sleep.
So that begs the question, right? If the linear path is such an obvious trap, why on earth do we celebrate it so much? And that brings us to section 3, the noble trap. We're going to dig into the psychology behind why our culture seems to glorify the grind.
I mean, it's a really good question to ask yourself. Think about it. From your very first job to all those corporate mottos, we're just bombarded with this idea that putting in more hours, more sweat equity, is some kind of moral virtue. But the manifesto wants us to stop and ask, hey, where did that belief even come from? And the manifesto's answer is, well, it's pretty blunt. The answer is because it makes you compliant. A belief in hard work for hard work's sake makes you the perfect gear in a machine that you don't own. It encourages you to be a fantastic employee instead of encouraging you to question the very system you're working inside of.
This next part is designed to be a little jarring. It takes this idea of nobility, that pride you feel in a hard day's work, and it reframes it. It's not a virtue, it says. It's a consolation prize. It's the little pat on the back they give you to keep you happy trading your limited time for a capped income, so you never even think about trying to own your time outright.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem, we've looked at the psychology behind it. So now, in our last section, let's pivot to the solution. It's called building your system. This is all about moving from just talking about the problem to actually doing something about it. It's about finding a new path forward.
And the very first step, it's all in your head. It's a mindset shift. You have to stop measuring your own worth by how tired you are at the end of the day. You've got to let go of that need to be praised just for putting in the hours.
The next step is to replace that brute force with intelligence. See, the goal isn't more hours anymore. The goal is more output per hour. And that, my friends, is the very definition of leverage, getting a bigger result with the same amount of effort or maybe even less. And this is the ultimate call to action. It's the big fundamental shift from being a cog in someone else's machine to designing a machine of your own. And look, that machine could be a business, an investment portfolio, a creative brand. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as the goal is to build something that works for you.
And that brings us to the final question, the one question this entire manifesto is really built around. Look, this isn't about working hard versus being lazy, not at all. It's about where you point your energy. So, are you running on that treadmill, just spending all your effort to stay in the exact same place? Or are you using that energy to build the engine that's actually going to carry you somewhere new? The choice, ultimately, is yours.